had some things to say because the Milwaukee Bucks have now dropped 4 out of their last 5 after losing by 20 to Oklahoma City yesterday. And to make matters worse, the Thunder were not at full strength, missing a handful of players due to injury. So Milwaukee is currently, right now, on the outside of the playoff picture. They are the 11th best team in the East. Their losses are not small. The Bucks' last 3 L's have been by at least 18 points. And so, Giannis Antetokounmpo, what is the problem with the Bucks?
Our chemistry is not there. Guys are being selfish. Guys try to do it on their own. I'm not the guy that will yell and cuss his teammate out and demand the ball. I've never done that in my career, but I feel like I've played with teammates that kind of understand, the gravity that I can cause for our team. And I don't understand, maybe because we're young, maybe because we're not playing well, maybe because guys think it's their turn. They want to, carry the team on their back and try to turn this around, but I really don't get it. I really don't.
All right, so this clearly sounds like a different kind of frustration coming from Giannis's mouth. He only took 11 shots in the L yesterday. He's still at a double-double. But, Wendy, I'll go to you first. Does he have a point in what he's saying?
Well, look, I sort of have a rule that I never evaluate a team after they've played the Thunder, particularly offensively, because the Thunder do stuff to you that totally messes you up and makes you question your basketball abilities and your strategies. And, in this game, they wouldn't let Giannis even get the ball, and they swarmed him, and, he was very frustrated. But over the last 5 games, he's actually, by his standards, barely shot the ball. And the Bucks have played several of their worst games of the season. They are clearly deteriorating. And before that even happened, they weren't a contender. And so that's the thing. When you look at Giannis' situation and you look at the Bucks, will they play better later this season? Certainly. They could have a 5-game winning streak in 2 weeks. It's the NBA. But if you look at this team, is this team capable of making a run even in the Eastern Conference playoffs? Could they win multiple series? I mean, anybody can win a series with Giannis. Giannis is an incredible player. And that's really what we're talking about. He's 31 years old, and he's on a team that has just exhausted itself of resources, and the team is just not up to the standard of a 31-year-old MVP candidate. It's just not. I'm not saying this to be insulting to the Bucks. The Bucks were a legit championship contender for 6-7 years. They've gone through their cycle, and Giannis has outlived it. And what's happening right now, and Giannis is hard on the record, very firmly on the record, that he will not ask for a trade. I got that. I understand. The Bucks are on the record. Doc Rivers has said we are not trading him. Those things are out there. I am not disputing those statements. I am not calling them not true. But I'm telling you, the entire NBA is circled around them right now. And if it's not teams who want to trade for Giannis in the next 2 weeks, the deadline is 2 weeks from today, it's teams that know that if there's a Giannis trade, and that's just the truth, Stephen A., teams believe that this is going to end in a divorce, and probably sooner rather than later.
The Milwaukee Bucks need to wake the hell up and trade him. You're not going anywhere. And this is one of the top 5 players on the planet Earth. Top 5, planet Earth. Tell me 5 players who are definitively better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're talking about a guy right now, Wendy. He's averaging 28.2 points per game. He's shooting a career-high 65% from the field. Giannis Antetokounmpo, ladies and gentlemen, who supposedly can't shoot, is shooting a career-best 39.5% from three-point range. 39, nearly 40% from three-point range. That's comparable to Steph Curry. That's what he's doing. And this team stinks the way that it does. I mean, it's just, listen, at some point in time, you tried. You went out, you got Damian Lillard. That didn't work out, obviously. He torn his Achilles and all of this other stuff. Over the last 4 years, they've won 1 playoff series. They are 1-9 in their last 10 postseasons. How much evidence do you need? I mean, how many times have I said when we've been on the air, Wendy, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. It's a duck. Look at them. They're not good. Period. You have no shot to win a championship. And do you see the roster around them? I mean, no disrespect to the players. I understand that they individually they could play. They got talent. They belong on an NBA roster. But if I'm thinking that I got Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then I look around and I see a Kevin Porter Jr. or an A.J. Green or a Ryan Rollins or a Kyle Kuzma and Miles Turner, who was just in the finals with the Indiana Pacers, I'm like, hold the horses here. Let's pump the brakes. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's what you got with him? That's what you got with him? Now, to get to your point, Wendy, they've tried. They've been a championship contender the last 6 or 7 years. Okay, you've exhausted all your options. You got one left. You got the top 5 player on the planet Earth who's 30, 31 years of age, still giving you close to 30 a night. Career best in field goal percentage shooting and three-point percentage shooting. He's not going anywhere. He's 6'11". He's a gazelle. The brother is all world, okay? Do you have any idea what you could get for that man? You're the Milwaukee Bucks. You have a business obligation to look out for your franchise. Now, if this guy is beloved and, oh, my Lord, you trade him and then everybody is going to desert you, that would be different. Last time I checked, we're a couple of weeks removed from the crowd booing him and booing the team and him booing the crowd back, which is something he doesn't do. This is a man that felt like he was beholden to the Milwaukee Bucks. And what did he do? All of these years being beholden to them. Now he's booing back at their fan base. Clearly he doesn't feel he owes them anything. They shouldn't feel like they owe him anything. The man is a champion. He's a 2-time league MVP. He's a top 5 player on the planet. And he plays for a team that sucks. Plain and simple. You don't leave him in that situation. You maximize and exploit his talent by using him to get an abundance of assets. And last point, I understand that Phoenix got a first rounder and 5 second rounders along with Green and Dillon Brooks for Kevin Durant. I'm sorry. They got that to trade away Kevin Durant. I understand that the Lakers got Luka Doncic and only had to trade away a first round pick and obviously Anthony Davis and Christie. I get that. But your litmus is the New York Knicks, who got 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. You don't have to get all of that, but you could get some of that and a player or two for Giannis. Yes, you can. You're the Milwaukee Bucks. Do you want to keep a star, be irrelevant, stink up the joint night after night, or do you want to, change things up and get an abundance of assets to build for the future? It's a very, very simple answer to this. Giannis must go. A, because he wants to, and B, because the Milwaukee Bucks should want to move him for an abundance of assets. This is not rocket science. Get him up out of there. He deserves better. Bottom line. But the organization will benefit too.
It's an amazing story about an amazing family. And I think if you take a step back and you look 10 years ago, Kobe Bryant had retired. The Lakers were in a tailspin as an organization. Jeannie Buss's brother, Jim, was running basketball operations, and the results on the court implied he was running them poorly. 10 years later, she partnered with the younger members of her family to remove the older members of her family from leadership. Then she partnered with the older members of her family to sell the team, when the younger members of her family didn't. And all of those Buss family members have now been fired. She has liquidated her holdings and become incredibly wealthy while keeping the job as governor. This has never happened in NBA history where you can actually sell the team, sell majority control of the team, and remain as governor. And she did that because she negotiated a deal with a partner in Mark Walter that allowed her to do that. Looking at it that way, it's incredibly effective and some would say ruthless, management. She did something that, Dr. Jerry Buss, if it wasn't involving his blood, probably would admire. And we know this about Dr. Buss because there have been many, many stories written about him, books and movies and television shows. And by the way, Jeannie Buss and the Buss family have put out their own 10-part series about their family, and she's put out her own television show based on her. Like, this is not a family that doesn't mind having its business out in the street. Okay? What I would say about LeBron is that everybody who has worked with LeBron in his 23 years at times feels like he's a headache. And those headaches are worth it times 10. And the Lakers were absolutely in the desert until LeBron came back, and he absolutely was the savior of the franchise, and he absolutely did irritate and bother them and wear them out, and they're thrilled that he did it. That's what the Cavs would say, that's what the Heat would say, that's what anybody who worked with him would say. All of this stuff is fascinating, but all of it is rational.
I completely agree. And the subject right here is about LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. I have no doubt that he's gotten on their damn nerves from time to time. I mean, when you consider some of the decisions, the trade involving Russell Westbrook and how Jeannie, reportedly walked around feeling like, he didn't accept accountability for when everything went south with that particular trade. Some of the folks that they got rid of, the Kyle Kuzmas of the world, and an ability to re-sign Alex Caruso and others, it had his fingerprints. This is what they want to say. But the one thing that was this article, I believe, left out was that LeBron James was worth it. And that's what we really, really have to embrace here. The Lakers were nowhere. You were praying that LeBron James came to Tinseltown. And it is absolutely true that he was letting folks know he was coming to the Los Angeles Lakers, the year before he arrived. We all suspected it. Now, they wanted Magic Johnson's fingerprints on it. They wanted it to happen while Magic Johnson was there because they had an affinity for Magic Johnson, and they let it be known that, out of respect to him, they wanted him there when it happened as opposed to somebody else getting some credit for his arrival. But it was always understood that he was going to go there. It was the worst kept secret in basketball at that particular moment in time. We all expected it, and when it happened, it didn't surprise any of us, but it pleased most of us, especially people like me who love being in Southern California in May and June. I ain't apologizing for that to anybody, okay? And so, but when you look at LeBron James, listen, there are people who dismiss the championship in the bubble. I do not. I give him and Anthony Davis and them a lot of credit for winning that championship in the bubble. I also give him credit for resurrecting this Lakers franchise and returning them to relevancy. Now, does Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, talk about wielding their power, whatever? Well, let's pump the brakes on that, please. They do what any agent in their position or any agency in their position would do. If you have some muscle, you're going to flex it from time to time to ensure that your tenure is as successful as it possibly can be. You're going to make suggestions. They're going to be strong-handed suggestions like, you need to do this because if you don't, we're not going to be happy. I'm quite sure those kind of things have happened, but it's not a crime. And this notion that Rich Paul is some kind of villain because Clutch Sports, was wielding its power and it was leaning on LeBron James to do it. I will remind you, the Lakers had really, really, really regressed to, I would never say irrelevancy because we're talking about the purple and gold. We're talking about one of the greatest basketball franchises, one of the top 2 basketball franchises in sports annals. There's no doubt about it. But the other side to it is that LeBron did resurrect the Los Angeles Lakers. There is no question that happened. And even in his 23rd season, at over 40 years of age, 41 years of age, the brother's still doing his thing. He's out there giving you 20-plus a night. So let's not pump the brakes. We all know I can be critical of him. I wouldn't hesitate. But I ain't going to lie on the brother. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is that the man deserves a lot more credit than blame. And that's why Jeannie Buss had to come out with her statement, because regardless of what her feelings may have been, regardless of what she's tacitly alluded to, in the end, it doesn't usurp LeBron's contribution to the Los Angeles Lakers. He returned them to relevancy.
Okay, joining us now, NBA reporters Tim Bontemps, Tim McMahon, and Dave McMenamin. Tim Bontemps, I want to start with you. After Milwaukee's loss last night, what can you tell us about where things stand with Giannis and his future with the Bucks?
Well, Jay, as you just heard there, Giannis is obviously frustrated after another blowout loss. This is a team that has really been struggling, not just over the last couple weeks, but obviously all season, currently sitting a game and a half out of the final play-in spot. in the Eastern Conference standings. And the question is, as you said, what happens over the 2 weeks between right now and the trade deadline with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks? It not only hangs over the Bucks, it hangs over the entire NBA, Jay, because there's a lot of teams looking around saying, is Giannis potentially going to be available before the trade deadline? And they're going to wait and see if he is available before they do anything else. Now, to this point, Giannis Antetokounmpo has not said he wants to be traded. That has been the consistent theme, that he said publicly he wants to be there. The Bucks have consistently said they're going to try to be aggressive in trying to improve this roster, something John Horst has repeatedly done over the past few years. But as you just laid out there, Jay, yes, they didn't have Miles Turner. Yes, they didn't have Kevin Porter Jr. due to injury last night. But this is a Bucks team playing an Oklahoma City team missing a bunch of guys, and it still was not competitive. And that has been the story of their season. Can they find a way to make this roster better and good enough to be an actual threat, to be a force in the Eastern Conference playoffs, or will reality set in and will they look around and say this is a team that's not good enough? That is the big question hanging over the NBA between now and the trade deadline. Yeah, that is indeed a big question. Let's go to Tim McMahon now. Tim, you're covering Warriors Mavericks tonight. Lots of questions surrounding Golden State. Jimmy Butler with the torn ACL. Jonathan Kuminga has demanded a trade. So what should we expect from the Warriors as the trade deadline nears?
Howdy, Jay. Look, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy summed the situation up with Kuminga pretty bluntly the other night when he said, when there's a demand, there needs to be demand in the market. In other words, trust me, bro, we're trying to trade you. Now, there has been a major change in the Warriors rotation, which is Jimmy Butler's out for the season. That means Jonathan Kuminga is back on the court. Had a good return after sitting a month straight the other night when he had 21 points in 20 minutes. But the Warriors are going to continue aggressively trying to trade Jonathan Kuminga, but Golden State would rather make no trade than a bad trade. In other words, they're not trying to take back salary they don't want moving forward.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Dave, to you, the Lakers are in the current playoff picture and have about $40 million in expiring contracts, not including LeBron's. So what are you hearing about what L.A. may do before the deadline?
Yeah, when you talk about that $40 million, it's Rui Hachimura, it's Gabe Vincent, it's Maxi Kleber, and they have either the 2031 or the 2032 first-round draft pick that they can include in any deal between now and the trade deadline. They need help on the perimeter. They're 23rd in three-point percentage as a team. They're 25th in opponent three-point percentage. And so a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, maybe he could be someone the Lakers could pursue. Maybe you could look at Andrew Wiggins down in Miami, someone like Keon Ellis in Sacramento, DeAndre Hunter, Peyton Watson, the list goes on and on. The big question, though, will be with whether the Lakers are a player in the next 2 weeks or they try to pair that first-round draft pick they can trade now with another first-round draft pick that becomes eligible to be traded this summer and try to get a big fish. And maybe you call up New Orleans and say, hey, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, one of those guys, maybe we can add them to be the next kind of future wing to play with Luka Doncic moving forward.
Okay. McMahon, last one to you. The Mavs re-engage teams on a possible Anthony Davis trade despite a hand injury that is expected to sideline him through the deadline. What are you hearing about Dallas's plans?
Listen, Rich Paul, who represents Anthony Davis, has made it clear he wants his client to be traded. He believes that's in AD's best interest. I don't get the sense that AD is pounding on the door of the front office and saying, get me out of here. And the Mavericks are exploring the market. They're being aggressive. They're having those conversations, but they're not acting with a sense of urgency. They don't feel like they have to trade AD by the deadline. They don't feel like they have to trade him this summer. If Anthony Davis is on the Mavericks roster to open camp next season, I don't think anybody in Dallas sees that as a major problem.
NBA